I think there's a lot of people that look at sports betting as a side hustle, and it's a very viable side hustle right now. I don't watch a lot of sports at all.
So what does a normal day in the life of a professional sports bettor look like?
It's more like a normal week because, so for instance, the NFL and college football are probably two of the most popular sports, and they run on a weekly cycle. So you need to know when the lines come out. You need to know when the limits go up at the sports books because then they're going to take a bigger pop. You need to know what information moves a line. Like, for instance, in the NFL, there's a thing called the injury report that comes out for 3 days during the week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And you need to look at that injury report because you need to know who's not playing, how much they affect the line, and you need to get to that information fast before all the lines move. And then if you're focusing on props, you need to know how a player's performing, if there's an injury that's affecting his playing time, and how much he'll be used more or less. It really becomes, Colin, almost a daily grind. I like to tell people that sports betting will take as much time as you want to give it, and it'll still ask for more. And there are guys I know that do this 18 hours a day. There are guys I know that do this 3 hours a week. It's just a matter of what are you doing with sports betting and what are your expected profits and how much time you're going to devote to it.
One of the people on our forum asked, can you be profitable just doing 10 hours a week?
Yes, you can. In fact, I wrote a recent article for the website that I co-founded, Unabated.com. I wrote an article about how do you beat sports betting if you just have 1 hour a day? And I outlined, here are the things you need to focus on. Here are the things you should avoid because you're just not on it enough to get that edge. But if you just have 1 hour a day here or there, here's what you can focus on. And I think there's a lot of people that look at sports betting as a side hustle. And it's a very viable side hustle right now, especially if you're in a state that has a lot of options. Just like if you were in a state that had a lot of casinos, it's going to be easier to make money playing blackjack with a lot of casinos rather than if you just had one casino where they get to know you and they're like, oh, here comes that guy again. We're not going to give him a game. Sports books do the same thing. So if you only have one legal sports book in your state, you're going to wear out your welcome or you're going to find that they're not as beatable. But if you have 20 sports books in your state, you can just sit there and look around for all the inefficiencies in the market when there's opportunities. And so it's a more viable side hustle the more options you have. In more recent years, what I do now is I practice more of what's called a top-down method. And what this is less about handicapping. It's less about building models. It's about finding the sharp sources in the sports marketplace and then finding the weak sources and saying, well, okay, if this book has the line at -3 on this NFL game, and there's a book over here that has -2.5, and I know that this book, the first book, is sharp, super sharp. And I know the second book is DraftKings or BetMGM, and they're not as sharp. I know, well, that -2.5, that's the weak number. The sharp number is the strong number, and I go bet it at the weak place. And you just rinse and repeat that all over the place, find your edges that way. And now it's not so much about understanding, which teams have a dominant center and all that. It's just about numbers. I'm just playing numbers. I'm just looking at odd screens and I'm saying, okay, there's the weak books. They have an inefficient line. Let's hit that line as hard as we can, and then let's find the next one.
And are you doing that year round then?
Yes, because that you can do in any sport. It's the same process. It's just you apply it to each sport. As long as you know what makes up the sharp and the square books within each sport and how to spot those inefficiencies. And that was when we started Unabated. That was one of the things I wanted to build was the ability to help people spot the inefficiencies in the market. Not because it'll make those inefficiencies evaporate faster, but it'll train people to now know, okay, I don't need to know all the intricacies of every sport. I just need to know that 6.5% is a good edge, and I need to find that, and I need to know that that is a 6.5% edge. Let me go bet that. It's all about numbers now, and really, I don't watch a lot of sports at all. I just watch markets, and I just pick off inefficiencies.
Do you pick a certain amount of hours you want to work on it, or how do you determine how much? Because there's always, like you said, it could take all you want and more.
Yes. I try to limit the hours I devote to it. I do more in kind of running the site now. That is my main job at this point. I still like to bet sports and I still like to find those inefficiencies. But some days I just don't have the time, and I make it a point not to try to go down that trail and try to find inefficiencies. It's only going to eat up the rest of my day. So I try to take 1 to 2 days completely off from betting now.
Per week, per month?
Per week, yeah. And it used to be I would take 1 day off a month, if that. Now I definitely try to take 2, and especially in the summer. Look, right in the summer you have baseball, and baseball is a hard sport to bet because there's 15 to 16 games per day, and you can grind all these edges, and you can stare at the screen, and it'll just waste your summer. So I always tell people, I'm like, don't miss taking your summers off. It's really worth it. Get out in the good weather, if there's good weather where you are in the summer, and enjoy that, and get back for football and basketball, because that's where you're going to make a lot of your money anyway.